Hey there, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I wanted to share some really fun, easy, delicious lunch ideas with you. It's summertime, I know your kids are going to be home a lot more. You may be home a lot more depending on your job and just to spend time with your family. But I wanted to give you a couple ideas that you can make if you're in a pinch or just need some new ideas to make for lunches. To start off this video, we're making these delicious and easy pizza pockets. I'm starting by preheating my oven to 375 degrees, and then I have a roll of crescent rolls that I'm just going to roll out and pinch all the seams together. If you don't have crescent rolls, you can also use a canned pizza dough. You can make your own pizza dough, or you can even use canned biscuits for this. Anything you have will work. Once I get those all pressed together, I'm actually going to go ahead and cut them again using a pizza cutter. It's just easiest to use a pizza cutter. And I'm going to make 8 squares. Once I have my squares, I'm going to make sure they are sealed all the way if there is a seam there. I'm going to add just a small spoonful of pizza sauce. And then on top of that, I'm adding a couple shakes of oregano, 3 pepperonis. I'm using turkey pepperoni just because they're a lot less greasy. And a pinch of shredded mozzarella cheese. If you don't have shredded, you can also just cut up a block. That's totally fine as well. And then you're going to fold it over, pinch together the sides. As you can see, I added a bit too much sauce, but honestly, who cares if these look fancy? I mean, if you and your family are just eating them, it just matters that you're fed, right? There we are, a little messy, but good enough. It's going to work just fine. You will just continue to do this with all 8 of your squares, adding them onto a baking sheet. I didn't even spray this with nonstick spray. They didn't stick for me at all. They turned out just fine. Once I got them all on my baking sheet, I put them in the oven and they baked for about 8-ish minutes. You want to keep an eye on them to make sure they don't get too dark. But once they start getting that nice golden color around the edges and on the top, they're ready to be pulled out of the oven. Here's what they'll look like when they are all done. You want to let them cool for about 5 to 10 minutes and then you can add them onto a plate. I sprinkled mine with some grated Parmesan cheese and some parsley to add some color. I think it just makes them look a lot more appetizing, and then you can dip it in your extra pizza sauce. Next, we're going to be making these steak and egg sandwiches. My husband loves these. I like to make them on his days off. So first you're going to want to make a sauce for these. To make this sauce, you're going to want to add a half cup of mayonnaise, about 2 teaspoons of mustard, just regular mustard, about a 1/4 teaspoon of dried dill, a tablespoon of milk. I just used half and half, it worked just fine. And last but not least, I almost forgot it and ended up adding it off camera. You're going to add about a 1/4 teaspoon to a 1/2 teaspoon of sugar, and you're going to want to let this sit for at least a half an hour so it can all come together. Next, I'm going to go ahead and slice up half of a yellow onion. I try to slice them a little bit thinner. You want them to be in nice big pieces just like this. Over to a skillet on my stove, I'm adding about 1 tablespoon of butter. Once my butter is melted, I'm going to add in my onions and a little bit of salt and pepper. Not a lot, just a few shakes of each. And I'm going to let these cook in here until they have started to get a little color on them, and that's going to take around 4 or 5 minutes. You can use whatever steak you want here. I like to use these little sirloin steaks that you get over in the freezer section at Walmart. They come in this box. There are 4 to a box, and I just used 2 of these. You need about 1 per sandwich if you're going to go a little heavy. You could probably stretch it and get about 3 sandwiches out of this, but we like to load ours. So I used 2 of these. I let them cook in here with the onions for about 2 or 3 minutes on each side, and then once they are cooked on each side, I will chop them up and give them another minute or so to finish cooking. They don't take long at all. Right before chopping up the steaks, I'll add a couple shakes of Worcestershire sauce, a little bit of garlic powder, just a few shakes, and then some of my steak seasoning. Today I'm using this Famous Dave's steak and burger seasoning just because that's what I have on hand, but you can use any steak seasoning that you like. You want to make sure you start lightly with the steak seasoning though, because you're already adding salted butter, you have a little bit of salt in your onions. The steak is pre-seasoned lightly, so when you add your steak seasoning, which probably has salt in it, you want to make sure you start with just a little bit. You can taste it, make sure it's good to go. If not, add a little bit more, but you just want to be careful to not over salt it. Now that my onions and steak are all done cooking, I'm going to add them into this bowl for right now. And we're going to continue using this same skillet since it already has a lot of flavor in it. So we're going to be cooking our eggs in here. So to prepare our eggs, I'm adding 4 eggs into this bowl, along with about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of milk, and just a little bit of pepper. I did not add salt because, like I said, there's already a lot of salt in this, and I don't think it's needed for the eggs. I get those whisked together really well, and then I'm going to pour them directly over into my hot skillet. There is no need to add any more butter or anything like that. There's already butter and oil in this pan from the steak and onions. So now I'm just going to slowly stir this around until my eggs are scrambled. Once everything's done, I'm quickly going to go ahead and toast up our bagels. You want them to have this really nice color to them. I usually toast them for about 2 minutes. And like I said earlier, this really only makes about 2 large sandwiches, but you can also stretch it to make probably 3. But I'm going to add my steak first onto my bagel along with a nice big scoop of eggs. And today we are using American cheese just because that's what we had on hand. On the top part of your bagel, you'll add some of that sauce you made earlier, and that's all you need for these sandwiches. We really enjoy these. They are very, very filling and will definitely keep you full for a while. These honestly don't take long to make at all either, so you can make these really quickly for breakfast as well. They don't just have to be a lunch item, but we sure do enjoy them at lunchtime. Up next, this is something I enjoy on the weekdays while my husband is at work. He cannot stand tuna, but I love it. So into this bowl, I'm starting by adding 2 cans of drained tuna. I definitely prefer to use the tuna in water over the tuna in oil. I just do not like the texture of the one that is in oil, so I'm adding 2 of those. Next, I'm adding 1 avocado that I have chopped up, about 1/3 cup of mayonnaise, 1/4 of a red onion that I just chopped up into smaller pieces, 2 to 3 teaspoons of dried dill, and then a big pinch of this parsley that I keep in the fridge. I buy it at Walmart. It comes in a container, and it's just a lot easier to keep on hand. It doesn't go bad too fast and lasts me a while. These measurements do not have to be spot on. Honestly, I make this so often and I never really measure what I'm adding in, and it's one of my favorite lunches to have just because it's so simple to make and keep on hand, and it's really refreshing. Once I get it mixed together, I do taste it and make sure it's where I want it. Today I added a little bit more mayonnaise in there just to help maintain the moisture, and I also added in just a little bit of salt and pepper to taste. I will chill this in the fridge for about 30 minutes to an hour after making it, and I can keep it in the fridge for 3 or 4 days usually, and I think it's still just fine. You can eat it either on some bread, or you can eat it in a tortilla like this. I was just eating it out of a low-carb tortilla just to keep the whole meal a lower carb, but this is definitely one of my favorite easy lunches. Up next, we're making this pesto grilled cheese sandwich. Just like a regular grilled cheese, you're going to want to make sure that you butter up your bread. I really enjoy making these because a lot of times when I make something with pesto, I only have a little bit left over and then I usually end up throwing it away if I don't freeze it. So this is just a great option to use up some of your leftovers and not be wasteful. Onto the inside piece of my bread, opposite of where I added the butter, I'm adding a spoonful of my pesto and just making sure that is spread around really well. Next, I am adding on some shredded mozzarella cheese, and with this cheese there is no wrong or right amount. Add as much as you want. Next, I'm adding 4 thin slices of a Roma tomato, and then on top you're going to add the second piece of bread with more pesto. I'm just transferring that over to a warm skillet, and we're going to go ahead and brown this up on each side. I usually cook mine for about 2 to 3 minutes on a medium heat, enough to melt the cheese and get that beautiful color on the outside. I love making these. I love grilled cheese with tomato, so you know I love these as well, and especially with pesto, it's a really nice change. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope it gave you some great ideas to make for lunches this summer. Leave me a flower below if you made it to the end, and I will see you guys back here on Sunday. I will have a video with 4 brand new recipes for you, and I think you're going to like them.